As the year comes to a close, it's time for a year-end review of RuneScape's updates in 2023. Whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. The year started off with an update that players had been waiting for a very long time. After 6 free dev events, lots of complaining and data gathering, the dev rework was finally in RuneScape. The update reduced dev costs by a huge amount in addition to a system stopping you from losing your items after a double dev called the Overflow Inventory System. In January, Jagex also introduced a system that strikes fear into the middle class called taxes. Every single item sold in the Grand Exchange from that point on over 50 GP would have a 2% Grand Exchange sale tax added to it to counter inflation. The Ring of Death effect was also updated as part of the dev rework, giving you an extra life after death before your Sign of Life activated, which was so strong that you could cheese a lot of bosses. Due to it being so strong, Jagex nerfed it in the same month, placing its effect after the Sign of Life effect and juicing up the bleed damage you got after being knocked out, making it harder to survive for very long. On February the 1st, players could loot Frank's free chest to get rewards based on keys collected in the previous month. And I'm going to be honest, I have no idea why I'm mentioning this in the recap because this was such a forgettable event. February saw the release of the new Foundations quest, which upon completion earned you access to a brand new area northeast of Varrock called Fort Farinfree. This fort gave players the opportunity to access invention machines, ports, and miscellanea remotely using its buildings, amongst other things. You did actually have to physically build these buildings though, and the construction experience was terrible at the time. Additionally, the fort also added RuneScape's first offline, aka resting XP system. Common loot obtained from this unfriendly looking nutsack was Common loot you obtained from this unfriendly looking nutsack was nerfed in addition to a particular hunting training method players like to use to gain experience. On the bright side, February did introduce aura pausing, where if you're offline, your aura timer wouldn't expire. March was a month filled with changes to the wilderness. Jagex removed the wilderness threat system entirely, turning the wilderness into a regular area much like the rest of Gielinor. Part of this update included the complete removal of cursed wisps and therefore also cursed energy from the game. Brawling gloves are reworked to give you a base 50% XP buff regardless of where you're at instead of a bonus based on the wilderness level you're in. Jagex also nerfed these saves inside the wilderness by extending the respawn timer from 5 to 10 minutes because it was no longer dangerous to train there. Yes, it was as unnecessary as it sounds. March saw the release of a new quest in the Fort Farinfree series called Murder on the Border. After finishing this clue party of a quest, you could construct yourself a new building called the Kitchen. This is now the place to be when training cooking, as it gives you increased cooking experience and reduces the odds of you burning your food. Near the end of the month, Jagex introduced a new restricted account system to allow restricted accounts to show off how legit they were and giving players the option to block XP gain in any skill they're choosing. In April, Jagex increased the total Slayer Master count by 1 with the Unwelcome Guests quest, another entry in the Fort Farinfree series. The quest gives players access to the Raptor as a mid-level Slayer Master, a new guardhouse building with Slayer buffs, a new dungeon with Slayer monsters called Risen Ghost and Armored Phantoms, both of which drop a brand new ability called Greater Sonic Wave. Since the ability was kind of weak, the ability was later buffed in the month of May. Action bars required an overhaul, as in April, Jagex decided to buff ranged, melee, and magic basic abilities. Rack, Slice, Punish, and Piercing Shot became far stronger basic abilities, affecting the ability order forever. Piercing Shot was buffed by nearly 60% while also having better synergy with Special Ammunition due to it now hitting twice. In-game pulls are reintroduced for the first time in years, and even more surprising is that Skill Chompus became the highest level RuneScape monster, albeit for a short time frame. Walking events go brrr. In May, one of the ugliest areas in RuneScape was graphically updated, being Karamja. Additionally, creatures like Dark Beasts, Skeletons, Ghosts, and Zombies were also graphically updated. Protein memories were reworked and now need to be used at a rift and can no longer be used from a bank. They also give about 60% more experience on average than before and are used faster. This all results in a much higher XP rate per hour. Jagex experimented with some odd MTX related items this year, including adding a fletching and crafting cleaner. They also turned Slayer into a buyable by adding an item called the Slayer Wildcard, which allowed you to kill Slayer creatures off off task and still gain Slayer experience from killing them by consuming one of those cards. Near the end of May, the beach event returned to the game where players from all around the world gathered to literally just sit in this hole. Truly fascinating. Jagex also launched a similar event to the Golden Party Hat event called the Golden Cape Hunt, where you would collect different shards by doing different activities and eventually get yourself a golden cape. And I almost forgot they did another one of those Frank free chest events. In June, after multiple delays, the long-awaited Max Cash update arrived, increasing the maximum amount of gold you could have and buy or sell items for on the Grand Exchange to an extraordinarily high number that no one will ever reach. Merchers were left in shambles. In June, the previously beta-tested Anime Dead and Fractured Staff of Armadil, also known as FSOA changes, made it into the live game. Anime Dead was nerfed significantly but remained to be an effective defensive spell. The FSOA special attack was changed to hit with normal attacks instead of firing off additional auto attacks, thereby also severely reducing the insane rune consumption it had before. For the average player, this adjustment didn't actually affect their damage output negatively. In some cases, it was even a damage buff for players. Teleportation restrictions were removed from the wilderness entirely. An add all option was added to recharge god books. Iron Man players were now able to receive group PVM spell effects such as Intercept, Calgarian Demon special attacks, and Heal Other. A new tier of die was added with the parcels from the Dead event called the Soul Die. The community didn't like it, so not long after, the actual look of this die was changed. Jagex reworked the woodcutting and construction skills as part of the Woodcutter's Grove update. It's quite the extensive rework, but in short, the level requirements of trees were smoothed out, XP values were changed, so trees like yew trees or magic trees, which were previously quite bad XP, were now significantly better. A wood box and wood spirits were added to the game. A new tier 18 Camdo Hatchet was added to the game, new tiers of plank were introduced such as magic and elder wood planks, and Jagex somehow managed to destroy one of the best AFK methods in the game called Golden Bamboo. As part of that same update, construction XP rates while constructing buildings inside the fort were heavily buffed, nearly 5x, to make it the new AFK meta. July was a bit of a quiet month, but Jagex did manage to piss off the players with their newest quest called Dead and Buried. Not only did players dislike the puzzle at the end of the quest, but apparently revealing the gender of a mysterious character is something RuneScape players don't take lightly. On the bright side, the update did add fletching quality of life changes, and the Rangers workroom building to Fort Frinfree now being the best place to train fletching. The AFK or logout timer was increased from 5 to 10 minutes if players had turned their RuneScape account into the new type of Jagex account. Jagex released a new Protein Prolonger item that allowed you to AFK protein items for 10 minutes in July as well. This is Big Brain Sales 101. Protein planks were reworked and heavily nerfed in July, and you're no longer able to build things in your player-owned house using protein planks. I could get into the details here, but overall the XP per hour you could gain using protein planks was reduced by about 60%. August saw a major combat rebalance where low-level mobs were juiced up and had their XP values changed. You now gain 50 common XP per 1000 damage with no exceptions from regular monsters. Overall, this was a hefty nerf, approximately 50% across the board to all combat XP rates, in addition to heavily altering low-level play and certain farming methods such as corpse spiders and Turoffs. The combat rebalance happened for the new skill release, being Necromancy. Necromancy introduced a brand new combat style which was beginner-friendly, visually satisfying, and had a clear progression path both skill and gear-wise. The skill ended up being incredibly powerful due to its combined offensive and defensive capabilities, higher max hit, and its zero miss damage output system. The skill, while not as popular as Archaeology, was an incredibly important and unique moment in RuneScape's history. It was, after all, the first combat style to be added since RuneScape was created. Unfortunately, it wouldn't take long for Jagex to completely and utterly destroy their reputation with the announcement of the most controversial update of the past decade: Hero Pass. Hero Pass was supposed to be RuneScape's newest battle pass that would be better than the previous iteration. Instead, Jagex designed an incredibly predatory pass that would take players multiple hours per day of grinding to complete, and that's if they're doing all the missions available to them, therefore altering their playstyle. It was literally all designed to force a certain playstyle and to get you to buy skips and the premium version of the pass, as otherwise you wouldn't gain access to the pay-to-win game-changing buffs, such as damage reduction at one of the hardest bosses of the game early on. There was even more controversy around the pass, like Jagex removing daily challenges and free treasure hunter keys, but I think you all are well aware of what I'm talking about here. This is probably still fresh in your memory. The month following Hero Pass wasn't filled with many memorable updates. The entire month of September was filled with rounds of feedback related to Hero Pass and Necromancy patches. There was a super powerful PvM event though called Thox Smashing Buffs, which even had Sign of Life resets for once. October saw another quest release in the Fort for Infantry series called the Ancient Awakening quest. This quest unlocked a brand new building called the Botanist Workbench, in which you could now create overloads completely AFK. The month wasn't free of drama though, as Jagex managed to create a controversial, unfun Halloween event, pissing off the community yet again. Conjurers were nerfed in October, but in place of those nerfs, a single ability was added allowing you to summon all of your conjures at once, called Conjure Undead Army. Golden Bamboo was finally buffed and restored to its former glory as one of the better woodcutting AFK methods, and thankfully Shattered Worlds finally was playable again thanks to the Feeling Pump Mutator returning to its former glory at the cost of combat experience. November saw a positive change for Runescape as Jagex added the double XP token store, allowing players to more easily gain scaling outfits when training during double XP. Rune crafting pouches could now be loaded from the bank using your bank preset. Calgarian demons could auto-fire their scrolls and would work on all players. Overload effects and familiars were no longer lost on death. There were a bunch of graphical changes, including the Varrock sewers being graphically updated. The logout timer for members was extended by a further 5 minutes, bringing the total up to 15 minutes if you had a Jagex account. The Vorkav boss, which may be familiar for old school players, was added to RuneScape 3, turning out to be quite the challenge to complete and take out. Unfortunately, players aren't too happy with the lackluster loot it drops. The same update added ranged armor in addition to existing Sirenic armor receiving a brand new set buff. Alongside the Vorkav update, Jagex ran another shard event, except this time it was for Necromancy cosmetics instead of some golden item. And to end of the year, Jagex finally decided to listen to the players and added one of the best holiday events yet, the 2023 Christmas event. This event for once ticked all the boxes players were asking for and complaining about during the Halloween event, and even has a rare black party hat drop to top it all off. 2023 was an unusual year for RuneScape. While there were plenty of good moments, it did feel like there were too few memorable updates. Probably because all the good moments were lots of smaller things other than Necromancy. If I could sum up 2023 in 3 things, it would probably be Necromancy, Hero Pass, and patches. The year felt a little dry content-wise, and I did expect more Necromancy-related updates to ride on the wave after Necromancy's release. While we did get the Vorkav boss, we don't have a 4th Conjure yet, there's no hard and elite City of tasks, and so on. The communication between Jagex and the players has heavily improved compared to last year in my opinion. Unfortunately, we don't have any idea what content 2024 has to offer just yet, but as always, I'm hopeful for the best. Be sure to let me know what your most memorable update of the year is in the comments down below. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it interesting. If you did, leave a like down below and maybe even consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.